everybody, welcome back. Alright, so what I'm doing now, as you can see, there's some more motive power here. I'm actually getting ready for our first, or my first, shakedown session. I got some friends coming over, some folks, you may recognize their names when I talk about it later on probably, but they're going to come over and they're going to try to break the layout. Well, actually I said, hey, come on over. We'll have some drinks, something like that, and just come on down here and I'll talk about my proposed operating plan, because these guys are all good operators, so I get some feedback on that, and then just run some trains, pick some locomotives, run them around, run them everywhere, try to, test all the track, all the turnouts, spin the turntable, just run everything and see how it runs. So I do have some power out here. That's a new Rapido FA2 AA set. That's probably going to be power for an empty coal train. Head up the Olean branch. I have Shorty's M1. That seems to have some issues. I may have to reset the decoder. It's acting a little wonky. I got my Sharks. Yay! And I got my Pensy F7A AA set there. So that's ready to go. So getting things out and getting everything make some consist up and everything. I did add several pieces of la plexiglass. This one here is to protect the coaling tower, because it's right near the edge, and it probably would get an elbow. And then I did, as suggested, and as helped by Bill Schultz, here in front of the coal dock, you can see nice big piece of plexiglass on there. Now I'm probably going to come back and either paint or stain the wood, but I wanted to get it up at least, and Bill was able to come up and help me, so that is now up. See, it clears the chutes. A little bit of bow there on the top because it's a 64-inch long piece, but overall it seems pretty good. So if you come into it, go, oh, nope, you're not going to hit the chutes. So that should be some pretty good protection for the dock. I'm starting to get some cars put on the layout. I actually made 7 AccuRail 2-bay hoppers. I didn't weather them or anything like that. I wanted something to get on the layout for, we're doing some work on the coal dock. So I made those 7. Nothing real fancy, but I got them done. Then I did actually make those. They're also AccuRail. I'm just doing stuff that's quick. I mean, I got tons of Finaro and Westerfield and Sunshine kits, but they're going to take me a little bit more time to get assembled. And these I did weather. I wanted to try using the Vallejo washes and the MIG pigments just to see if that technique works, and so I just sat down and kind of had fun. I think they look okay. I mean, I'm not saying they're works of art. I'm not going to enter them in a contest, but one of my favorite railroads, the Old Woman there, New York, Ontario, and Western. So that was kind of beat up, and then the Pensy X26. Although I believe, if I read correctly, I recall the Tichy model might be more accurate than the AccuRail, but whatever. Alright, so that's pretty much what's going on. I got some stuff starting to get together here. These are cars I'm going to go over to Sharon. Probably going to start making up the Eugene turn here. I got my little switcher was up here kind of working, bringing some cabooses into the caboose track. So that's ready to rock and roll. I broke out my Genesis New York Central Jeep 9 Lightning Stripe. I like that. I also like the New York Central. So he's going to be powering the milk train that Bill wants to run, and it's going to come off the Olean branch. So I got him ready to rock and roll. So then, for now, that's what we're doing, getting ready. Not a whole lot of work. Just trying to get things done. Again, it took me some time to build all those AccuRail kits. But getting ready for the shakedown. So more to come as we shake, rattle, and roll here. Okay, I just thought I'd do a quick intro here. This is the things are getting staged. Getting ready for the shakedown session of the layout here. So here at the end of the Olean branch, where the railroad interchanged with the New York Central and the Erie, and then by way of some circuitous running every now and then, the Reading. And that's only because I had some Reading power I wanted to pop on here today. So I have the New York Central power there. He is on the milk train. He's like the first thing that's going to run. In the back is the 581 passenger train that the railroad's being forced to run by the state of Pennsylvania. And then I have some Reading power here on EO1, which runs over to Eugene and then terminates over there, and then spins and comes back as EO2. So that's that. Let's just take a quick walk and kind of cover how I got things staged. Again, it's not really going to be a real op session, but I did want to get some work for people to do just for fun. So let's go over to the main yard, see how it's looking over there. Alright, we'll start here at the far end of Eugene. Again, there's a nice little station scene. I wonder who did that. And then here, I got a couple things. I got a rip track car that's been fixed and repaired. It's got to go to the yard. The North Yard Power. Waiting for the crew. They're in there now, kind of chit-chatting with the tower. Some cars are spotted in the back for pickup and movement. Got the caboose track ready to go. Got a couple cars here set up for just some real basic switching, because I don't really have the whole sequence set. But basically, this set was dropped off by a previous road freight, and then the car's got to be moved around a little bit. This is the start of what am I calling EU1, the Eugene local, that runs out to Sharon, turns, and comes back. Got some cars of the Industries. These cars here actually go over to Sharon. Got some more things spotted there, back of the Industries. I got some coal cars. These have to go up to the dock. This is the power for the South Yard. They're taking a break there in that brand new building they got. So they have to pull things off of the dock. These cars are set to go over to Sharon for the factory and the Erie Builders area. Got some cars spaced or set back there in Erie Concrete at the Industry and the team track. Ready to come out. Got a bunch of power here. So gurgling away here. Ready to move. Nice piece of plexi so no one ruins my coal dock. And then some power back here at the roundhouse. Pensy power there, two steamers ready to rock and roll if folks so desire. I'm just going to let kind of people pick what they want to run and just, you know, go for it. Just have fun. Just run around the layout in amongst the freights that we're going to try to run. And now over here in Sharon, got some cars ready to be moved. I actually made up a little list of things for the guys to do. I don't have any transformers, so I have an oil circuit breaker. Sorry, that's all I got right now. These cars all got to be moved around. Basically pick up everything. They got to swap these two here for Erie Builders, and I got a couple other things to run around. And then the Eugene local will run out and work. Basically, he's going to work from, once he gets himself together, from Eugene, he will head out, heading east. He's going to come over here to Wallace Junction. I'm going to pan over this way quickly. Hopefully I'm not walking too fast. He's got to pick up and drop. That's that, not the milk car. The milk train handles that, but that reefer in front, that's at the ice dock. That's got to get swapped out. And then he'll come around and he'll work. Yeah, he'll work the trailing point. He'll work this one on the way out at Lake City. Spin around over to Fairview, same thing. And then continue on his merry way around the wall over there into Sharon. I might have them work the south side, I'm not sure yet, but there's some tracks there. Spin, you know, run around the train, have to move the caboose around and everything. Then head back and work the other trailing point turnouts when he comes back. So then he'll work Avonia Supply on the way back. Then he'll work the other industry at Lake City, way over there. And then that's pretty much it. Then I'll come back. Unless he's got a surprise car to pick up at Wallace, who knows. Then he'll head back to the yard. So, all right, let's see how it goes. I cleaned the track. We had some issues in the tunnel. Not this tunnel, but that damn tunnel. Running back into Olean or the staging there at the workbench. We were running the GP9 up there for the milk train, and it died right inside the tunnel. So I had to crawl under there and clean the track, and I hope it's okay. I ran several things through it since then. It seems okay, but that's why I really fear tunnels. But it is what it is. So, all right. More to come. Maybe I'll try to get some video from the session if folks don't mind being videoed. Otherwise, we'll definitely come back with a report on how well the layout operated and behaved itself afterwards. Hey, looky here. We got us an operating railroad yard. All right, so the session last night went fairly well. I didn't get any video. Had 6 guys come over, and we kind of played trains for a while. I didn't video just because I was so busy. It's kind of explaining the layout, showing the guys how things work, and taking notes and uncovering and fixing issues as they popped up. So overall, it went very, very well. So I'm very, very appreciative of the 6 guys that came over to help me out. So I just walked through what we did and some of the things that I learned, some of the issues with the layout that I have to address. I did set up for the guys. I have to do a lot of work on my operating plan, but I came up with some instructions, just handwritten, hard to read, Rob Bennett writing, for the North Yard crew, just some things to do. For the South Yard crew, which is the coal dock, the WHX crew is the job that goes over to Sharon and works the Westinghouse factory and the Erie Builders area. So just some things to do to try to, kind of like a switch list, I guess you'd call it, although it's more just kind of written instructions of do this, move this, these cars kind of go here. Don't have it very well coordinated yet in terms of when road freights come in, what they're dropping off, where those cars then go. But I'll get to that. That'll work itself out, I think, over time. But at least had something for the guys to come up with. I did create a map, which I'll probably show in a little bit more detail, just to kind of geographically ground where the layout is. And maybe I'll do a little segment on the method of my madness behind that, because I know it's probably hard to see here, just pointing at it with a camera, but to kind of, geographically set where this layout is supposed to run. So I'll go through that in another short segment. Well, nothing I do is short. So overall it went well. Maybe we'll walk up to the other end and just start illuminating some of the issues the guys found. Okay, up here at the engine terminal, things went fairly well. The Walthers turntable worked. We used it quite a bit. I was a little concerned because I remember reading some things about the operation of the turntable, I don't know, being a little sketchy. But it worked. We brought power in and spun it, and it seemed to work fine. Again, the little control cabinet here seemed to work okay. It was a little tight up here, but usually there was only one guy up here that was spinning their power or something like that, so that went fairly well. The engine terminal is a little crowded. I probably had too much power sitting in it, but that was just for fun. Never even used the Pensy set. The Reading set came in off a train off of the branch. And so now what I'll do is this was a, thanks to Bill Schaff, that was a lifesaver. And I'm probably going to extend it to protect that's from Shorty Parker's layout, so I'm very proud to have that. I want to protect it, so I might add another, just to extend the protection here in front, because as you reach over, I know I almost snagged that, and Bill admitted he almost snagged it too. Working here in the North Yard, part of the task was to come into the Erie concrete and steel and switch that. Went okay. it's too far to reach. It really is. But I knew it was going to be an issue. There are two KD magnetic uncouplers there that seem to work okay. You can see we got the milk car spotted at the at the team track area there. The operator did mention the crossing gave him a little bit of issue, which I'm not surprised. That's the 2mm foam, so I probably want to go back there and see if I can scoochie it down or something like that. I've since switched to 1mm foam, which seems, that 1mm makes a difference. So that is one area that needs a little bit of work. It was suggested, I think it's probably a good idea, for the top of the plexiglass here, maybe add a 1/2-inch aluminum channel along here and then secure it to that, just to take out that bow, give it a little bit more support. So that was a fairly good idea. Over in Sharon, one guy worked he brought a train out of Eugene into here and spent basically the whole evening working in the yard. Still need to, in this industrial complex, this area being the transformer factory, this area being Erie Builders. So we had to swap cars here, pick up some cars, move cars around the yard, distribute cars, and make some moves with some flats. I don't have any transformer loads yet, but I'll get to that point. So overall, I think that went fairly well. The suggestion is that really shouldn't use small switcher power, at least because the way I ran it was he had to get his power here at the engine terminal, pick up a cabin, and his cut of cars was set up on the west end of one of the north yard tracks. But in actuality, that's probably like a 40, 50, 60 mile run. You wouldn't do that with a switcher. You need a larger locomotive, so that might transition to a Jeep, or in the steam era, if I run steam, one of the 280s or something like that. So good suggestion. That was from one of the more senior guys, more experienced operators. Working the coal dock went fairly well. One guy worked that, bringing cars on and off the dock, getting them ready as empty moves. We had 3 empty coal trains leave, 1 loaded when it came in. The comment, which is actually a good one, because I decided to make these turnouts powered with tortoises, and this guy is trying to work this end of the yard, and even guys kind of coming into the because these turnouts here on the ladder for this end of the coal dock are controlled from the Eugene West panel. Well, the operator then had to kind of come down here to get here when there's other people, and it was just a little bit kludgy, because he had to come in to operate the toggles here for those turnouts, and every now and then in the engine terminal when he was trying to get headroom. And most of the time that operator was up here because he's pulling cars on and off the dock and getting them into the yard. Now this end was fine. They're the new Pico, they're all hand throws. But perhaps what I might be able to do is either completely move or dual control the south yard ladder. If I added some controls maybe in here, maybe it's even right on the fascia, just so when you're working the yard, the south yard, you can kind of stay here, operate your turnouts, and not have to worry about getting in the way, because you had a guy from Sharon. There's a guy switching the north yard. He's up there at a certain time. You got some guys working power in the engine terminal. So, good suggestion. So I got to think about how I may want to improve the efficiency when you're working the south yard. Back here, definitely need an uncoupler. It's just too far of a reach. The north yard operator mentioned, he had to reach in there to uncouple, and it's really tough. He was leaning against the plexiglass, which didn't break anything, but I'm really nervous about. I'd like to add one of the Rapido uncouplers because I think they work fairly well, but I'm just nervous about drilling up from the bottom. So for now, as a stopgap, I may put just one of them, the KD delayed action magnetic uncouplers, like the 2 I have up there in the industrial area. They seem to work okay, but of course you got to make sure your couplers are perfect and the trip pins are right and everything like that. So that was one suggestion. Up this way, seemed to go fairly well, because then you start to get closer. And this is where the layout originally was. So reaching back here to work these industries, and even working from this side, worked okay. You know, just using a skewer to go back there and uncouple. That seemed to work fine. I do need to get this control panel. This is the old control panel, so none of this is right the way it is. It's fairly confusing. Even I got to think about it sometimes when I come back in. So I have the new panel made. I just need to get it up, do all the, you know, swapping the toggles out, which I think is hopefully just going to be swapping toggles for the most part. But need to do that. I left the wireless receiver down here, and it seemed to work fine. No one really had issues with it. Now, the one thing we did do, which was really cool, one of the guys that came over, really smart electronically, he made up a cable. He's got his own little portable wireless system, and we plugged into the back of the EZDCC command station with a cable he made up. In fact, he left it for me. It's right there. Turned on his little wire, which is like a closed wireless system. Doesn't go out anywhere. It's just a closed system. And we were able to use our phones, Apple and Android. I think some had each, and use I forget what it is, train throttler. It was cool. I didn't think it was going to work, because sometimes the EZDCC system can be a little bit wonky when you try to do that. But he plugged it in, the cable worked, and I think we had 4 of us throughout the evening that were using their phones as throttles. Just had to acquire the network, and it worked. It was pretty cool. So that's kind of neat. So he left me the cable, because he's trying to work on all different connections. He's done it at Bill's layout for NCE, at another gentleman's layout with Digitrax. So now he's got it working for my layout with EZDCC. One of the other operators has EZDCC as well. So it's kind of cool to be able to use your phone as opposed to throttle. So now, if I come up with a way to hook it to a computer or get my own little wireless thing, people can bring their phones over, download the app, and use it. And I don't have to go out and spend $150 on more throttles. So the 3 I have will probably be enough. Because one other guy that does have EZDCC can always bring a throttle to his over if they want to. But several of the guys use their phones, and it seemed to work fairly well. I was suggested to add, something to hang a clipboard with and have pens around, and maybe add some of those little micro mark little boxes to add pens and the skewers to keep them off the layout. But he was working his list. He actually made up a switch list for me, which is pretty cool. So some way to organize the paperwork would be better. Everything up here seemed to work. There was a bit of a delay. For some reason, throwing this turnout, it worked eventually. Most of the time it worked. But there was one time he threw it, and it took like a minute, and then it threw. So I don't know what was going on with that. I got to check into that. There were some stuck turnouts, because I didn't get a chance to work every single turnout. But once they freed up, most of the turnouts worked fine. No issues, no derailments caused by, errant frogs or points not thrown or anything like that. Things seem to go okay up the branch into staging. Back there. Initially, Bill and I were working, cleaning track. We got a locomotive stuck in there. But I crawled under and cleaned it. He brought a track cleaning car, and he ran it back and forth through there several times. The rest of the night, everything ran fine. Nothing stalled. We didn't lose anything in the tunnel. So I didn't have to run, 14 locomotives to push something out. So that seemed to go fairly well. Didn't get a chance to run a local. I think it wasn't a true op session, so none of these cars got moved or anything like that. The swing gate worked okay. It's going to be an issue. The track alignment is off a little bit. It's a little bit high on the gate compared to the two sides of the layout. We had a derailment initially on a couple cars because the alignment wasn't so much the height. It was, I think I need to adjust the toggle clamp, let the gate swing a little bit to align the tracks. I'll call it horizontally. They're off a little bit on the one track. Caused a little bit of an issue with one coal train, but if you stood there and kind of nudged the gate, Only because I didn't adjust the screws during the session, the nuts on the back of the toggle clamp. But I got to have that. You know, there's no other way to get in and out. The swing gate was used quite a bit for folks walking in and out, going to the restroom, walking back to the other staging area. So I got to live with it. We'll see. It wasn't a showstopper. It's just something I think that's going to be there, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. But I have to deal with it. Talking about staging, again, since it is back behind in the mechanical room, coming in and out of staging, I don't know if I'd call it an issue, but need to work on a way to kind of communicate back there. I think on a real session, you know, because staging is all back behind here. You come in from the far end at Sharon, and from this end. Getting trains, the trains ran in and out fine, but some way to communicate, and perhaps even if we had a real session, have a mole operator back there with some way to communicate. Okay, your train's moving, you know, make sure it's going the right direction, the turnouts are thrown correctly, so you're not derailing, because obviously when you're out here bringing a train out, you can't see back there. Or maybe add cameras, so you know, so there's a camera back there so you can see the train, make sure it's moving the right way and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I could get to that, but I think a mole operator might be beneficial as well. Oh, it was suggested, or I'm going to have OSHA coming after me round the corners of the plexiglass. Good idea. Yeah, because that could be sharp. So I don't want a surprise visit from OSHA, so I'll work on that. And now again, didn't get a chance to switch because the local didn't run because we just didn't have time to do it. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Let me go into the workshop, talk about a few other things that came up, and then kind of what I plan to do going forward. Alright, over here in the Ollie and branch staging, things went okay. I probably need to label things a little bit better, and you can see it's a little bit darker in here. So maybe add a light, just in case you need to read card numbers or something like that. The biggest thing that bothered me, this set of 3 microengineering turnouts, I hate the disc manufacturers because I appreciate what they do, and otherwise we'd have no products, but I just don't like them. So what I'm probably going to do, I got mad I was going to go out and buy 3 Picos, but I'm like, well, easy, Rambo. You've got time. This worked. We got through the session fine. I don't like the way some of the frogs are wonky, and the point bars lost power until Bill cleaned things real well. What I may do, in fact, I think what I will do, is I have time, and I have all the fast track stuff. So I'll make 3 new turnouts. Although you can see I have a number 6 sitting right there. This was left over from the old layout. The fast tracks turnout. They're a lot more reliable. I have caboose ground throws. I could maybe even customize the turnouts a little bit, scoochy things up here if I wanted to move things back a little bit to give me some more headroom in the yard. Just modify the track a little bit there. When I go back, this is all glued, but I'm not going to glue the track down. I'll just tack it down. There's no need to glue it. So that's probably what I'm going to work on. Again, not a rush. This does work okay. I just don't like it. I don't like the reliability of the long-term reliability of these microengineering turnouts. Just me, that's just my personal, I'm not saying don't buy them or anything like that. I just don't like them. So I'm going to go with either Fast Tracks or Pico in the future. But hopefully if I get this done, there's still a couple microengineering ones over there that at some point I might have to replace. But again, if it's not urgent, I have all the materials, and if I have the time, just make Fast Tracks, because in general they're free for me. I got the investment done for everything else. So yard worked okay. I probably should label these. They just turn off power to the track, so you don't have locomotives making all kinds of noise. The one road crossing that kind of leads into something over here. I'm just going to spin slowly back here. We were running a coal train, and the road crossing there in Lake City, the outside track, the strip was a little bit high, so a locomotive, the train was dying pretty much, or the trailing unit of it's a Rapido FA2 set was losing power, and it turns out there's actually 2 issues. One, yes, definitely the strip was too high, so I have to work on that crossing, which I will do. But also, it appears that we uncovered the Rapido, one of the Rapido units. The front truck is dead, doesn't have power. This is the offending locomotive here. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to try to scream at Rapido. I'm just going to pop the shell and see if one of the the leads on the trucks came off or something. This might be a simple fix. I really don't feel like sending it back. And anyway, I'll pop the shell, see how it looks inside, and what may be done to fix that. But the front truck is definitely dead, because if you lift I assume you get power from both trucks. And when we were working it, if we lifted the unit from the rear, the whole unit went dead. So, well, why wasn't it getting power from it? So, anyway, we think it might be the front truck's an issue. That was kind of unrelated, or it was uncovered by the crossing, but not caused by the crossing issue. So, all right. So that's kind of a wrap of the session. And let me see if there's anything else to cover up as a final segment here, and then we will go ahead and get this up. Alright, just to show this, because I think I found the issue. Like I mentioned, this Rapido FA2, it appeared the front truck was dead, and after spending 20 minutes getting the shell off, because it doesn't just wiggle off easily like they say in the instructions. Anyway, I got it. I don't think I broke too much. But if you look at this, I don't know if I'll be able to focus or even show this, but this black wire going to the board is off. It's not soldered on, or it came out of the joint, so I assume it goes here. So I guess if I just resolder that on there, hopefully things will work okay. Again, I'm not sure that's going to be able to focus on it. I'm going to focus on the screwdriver anyway, but crap. Yeah, see, it's not going to want to focus. I'm sorry, I can't get it to focus. It's not that close in, but I think the red wire is okay. But as soon as I popped it off, I saw that black wire was definitely not soldered to the board, so I'm assuming that's it. So, all right, try to remediate that. That appears to be the issue with the front truck being dead on this, so I'll just fix it and maybe let Rapido know. I don't know, but I'll fix it and hopefully that'll resolve the issue. Okay, here's the repaired Rapido FA2. Again, I soldered that black wire. Just brought the soldering iron in, heat up the little blob. The wire went in and it's resoldered. So I just wanted to verify that the locomotive's working okay. I'll go ahead and mute it. It should mute, I think. It's going to shut down, I guess. But it does operate both directions. I did verify that. And the way we found it last night that this truck was dead was when we lifted the rear truck off, and obviously both trucks get power, the lights went out. But if I do it now and just lift the rear, okay, just a little bit, but see, I'm still getting power from the front truck now. And if I carefully re-rail it, and then if I lift the front truck off, I don't know if you can still see the lights there, but that's how we could tell last night. So I think I got it. So that's okay. That's the fix. So thanks, Rapido, for making my life interesting. But again, not really a huge deal. And I got some photographs of the way it looks inside since I have it off. But there you go. And I don't know that we ever would have found that if it wasn't for the road crossing issue, because again, it was getting power through this truck. So it wasn't really until, this truck came up and was off the track, and that truck being dead, that the whole unit went dead. So there you go. All right, we'll get the shell carefully back on and get this consist back in operation. All right, going to show the track plan and a map real quick here to kind of just give you the geographic boundary and setting of where this layout is. So here's a track plan, and I'll just do this real quick. Eugene Yard, the main yard, again with the industries in the front, the coal dock added here, which is physically the south side, engine terminal. Out of Eugene, you head east. You come over to Wallace Junction. At Wallace Junction, the Olean branch comes off and goes up into staging, which is Olean. So not real long run, just a wee little run. Mostly of it's through a tunnel. Anyway, then you come around the peninsula into Lake City. Some industries here. Come around this curve. Here's the swing gate with access into the layout room from the workshop area. Go through Fairview. At Fairview, you head further east into staging, which simulates Williamsport, and then kind of like going over Newberry Yard eventually with an interchange with the Reading. Also at Fairview is what I'm calling the southern route, which winds around, and it's a lot longer than it looks here, and then comes up into Sharon, Pennsylvania. Now also in Sharon, Pennsylvania, the line comes in from the west, call it Cleveland, I guess, somewhere in the west. Cleveland makes sense. It comes in and joins together here at Sharon. This is the Westinghouse factory, Erie Builders, some other industries here on the south side. Then it comes along. Now this whole this little end curve here, it's almost the E and P, the old PIR, Erie and Pittsburgh, up into Eugene. So that's that section. Let me pull up a map that I kind of kludged up to show how this works in allegedly in the real world. All right, here's the real world. This is kind of the northwest portion of Pennsylvania. I just drew this on an old 1875 map or something like that. Up here, in reality, is Erie, Pennsylvania. So here's Lake Erie. Up here, here's the border with Ohio. And of course, this is the border with New York. So I'm going to start here in Sharon, just because that's kind of where the line from the west, which is out of staging, and that is actually, okay, so it's coming out of staging from the west into Sharon, Pennsylvania. And then from Sharon, Pennsylvania, you head up north, I guess, on the E and P, which is really just that corner, that one curve in the corner, comes up into what I'm calling Eugene, which is named after my father, and that's where the coal dock is, and that rather large yard where some freights drop and pick and things happen. Out of Eugene, you then continue east down sort of what was the old P&E, just because I saw that route. That comes down here, and the next town you hit on the layout is Wallace Junction, which doesn't make sense in the real world. Those of you that are familiar with the area know that that's Wallace Junction. Lake City and Fairview are actually all over here to the west of Erie. But anyway, all right, so you come down here to Wallace Junction, and that's where the branch, the Olean branch, heads out over to Olean, interchange with the New York Central and Erie, and that's where the milk train comes out of there, some coal, and some interchange freights with the New York Central and perhaps the Erie at some point. I like the Erie as well. So, and the track arrangement here is such that you can only come off the branch and head, more railroad east. You can't come off of Wallace and head railroad west into Eugene, which you probably would do. Again, just to show the track plan, because this is coming from off the Olean branch. I don't have a Y here or anything, so you can only come into Wallace and continue further, railroad west, which I'll show over here. So that anything that comes off the Olean branch or going to the Olean branch, what I say here is the kind of way I kind of justify it is, due to some labor agreements, they have to run the southern route, which is coming off at Wallace, coming down through Lake City on the peninsula, coming in through Fairview, just past the swing gate, and then this southern route, which I just drew here, it comes along and back to Sharon. Now that rather lengthy route on the layout is just this little single track segment from here over to Sharon. So, I had to make it fit, so that's all I could do. So that's the southern route, really kind of from Fairview back over to Sharon. And then at Fairview, the main route continues more toward the east, railroad east, over toward Williamsport, Newberry Yard, and the main interchange with the Reading Railroad over there. And some New York Central, but mostly New York Central, at least for me, on this layout, it's going to come off the Olean branch. So that geographically sets the railroad kind of the way it is. Again, the layout was designed as just a big loop, so it just loops around. That's all I got. And just trying to geographically make it fit for the big loop that I have. Staging was added as an afterthought. I really would have preferred to do, if I designed the layout for operations from the beginning, I would not have done it this way, but you do what you got to do with what you have and their space and your access and your room. So staging ideally would be at the ends, and I could run staging to staging, kind of point to point, perhaps with a Eugene in the middle. Like it is now, it's just I don't have it ideally set up. So that is the railroad as set in the real world. So I just wanted to put that up there. And then obviously as I work on the operating plan, you know, again, I talked a little bit about it. You know, the milk train comes off the Olean branch, does some work at Wallace. It then continues along the long way over to Eugene, stops there. It meets up with a Pennsylvania Railroad Express train that comes from the west out of Cleveland. It runs into Eugene. It picks up cars. The milk train drops. Then it continues on and goes back to staging as it heads over toward Williamsport and then divide down to Harrisburg and down that way. So again, that's just an example. Coal trains for the Pennsy, they come off this line somewhere in the coal fields over here. Then they run up into the dock. Any New York Central based coal comes off the Olean branch. Then it runs around the southern route, again, because of the labor agreements. It runs around up through Sharon and then into the dock that way. Empties return the same way. So that's kind of the concept. And I'll work on some other freights, you know, manifests that run here and there and how to block them and how to have them drop cars for Eugene for distribution down the railroad. What road freights might want to do some work, picking up at Sharon, picking up at Wallace, that kind of stuff. So that's it. We'll see how it works, but that's the geographic basis for the railroad. All right, let me end with another quick plug for the upcoming Division 12 Allegheny Western mini-meet on September 14th, 2019. Invite everyone to come up to this. The website is here. You can go and register. The registration form is there and is now available for downloading, completing, and mailing in. We have posted our initial clinic list. That we continue to refine that. We're about 75% of the way there, getting all the clinics filled up. Hotel information's there as well for a special code. If you're coming in for Friday or want to stay Saturday evening, get your rate of $129 at the Ambassador. Very nice hotel. Raffle donations are definitely continuing to come in and get some really, really cool raffles. And then just speaking of the clinics, let me just show, this is kind of what we have so far. Large power transformer basics, that's mine. That's the one I'll be given myself. You have one on timetable train order ops. I know the gentleman giving that. It's a very, very good clinic. I've seen it. Another good clinic on structure lighting. Wooden blocks, that's Bill Schaff. If you've seen the videos on the channel of Bill's and mine block buildings, that's him. He's going to do it live. So come on up and meet him and maybe go home with a block building of your own. Another great clinic, and I've seen this one. This is a really good one on developing operations for the Pennsylvania Railroad Chautauqua branch. It's actually the superintendent of our division, Brad White, gives that really good. How he went out, used prototype reference information to set up really cool and really realistic operations on this layout. So that's a really good clinic. Expanding your horizon with backdrops, that's another real good clinic. I missed the opportunity to see that before, but I've heard it's very good. I know the gentleman, in fact, he was over at my house doing the Shakedown session. So he's kind of an artistic guy, so it's a very, very good clinic. This is a neat one. These are some other folks that are coming in from that help us out from outside our division. The Joy of Modeling Short Lines with a focus on Pennsylvania railroads. Really looks good. So those are the ones we have kind of confirmed right now. We have more in the works. We're just about to confirm one with a gentleman from a neighboring region that'll be doing it on engineering the right-of-way. It looks like a real good clinic. I didn't get a chance to see that the last time I was at the regional convention, but I heard the guys that did see it said it was very, very good. very well done. So, again, if you can, please get on the site, register. September 14th, love to see everyone there. The registration fee does include continental breakfast and hors d'oeuvres at the end, a little wrap-up we're going to have where we give out any, we'll do the raffle at the end of the day, 4 to 5, have any judging that might be done. That's an option. Give those that information out, awards out and whatnot. And it's a chance to kind of wrap up and chat with everybody before we take off. And then again, just don't forget that the Friday evening before and Saturday evening afterwards, there will be off-site layout tours and op sessions. That's still being worked. Just however, for FYI, my layout will be open Friday night and Saturday night. I know some other gentlemen in the area with really nice layouts are going to be open as well. We wanted to do Friday evening in case folks want to come up instead of sitting in a hotel room or going to the mall to do shopping. You come on out, see a layout, do some tours. So sorry about that. All right, so that's it. So let me wrap it up. And again, please go online, register. Any questions, hey, let me know. But we'd love to see folks there. I'd like to meet a lot of folks from the channel. If you can make it up there, I'd love to see you. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.